Well, hello, my friends. I am the Old Man, and this is the Old Man's video number 2, titled Society, Institutions, and Culture. How do we become the people that we are? Okay, let's start by taking a look at this. You see these beautiful babies here? How is it that these eventually become this? Different ethnicities, different cultures, different belief systems, different gods, or maybe they even become this. I certainly hope not. Okay, keep that in mind. And let's hold that question of how is it that we become the people that we are. Let me show you this first. This is a lump of clay. We know clay. It's soft, it's malleable. You can turn it into almost anything that you want to. I have a couple little examples here. Over here I've got a little pinch pot bowl, let's say. Cute, right? And here we have a little coil cup. Coil pot, they call them. Here on the plate I have a little running guy. I have a heart over here that says I love you. I have a knife up here that says I want to hurt you. So how does all that happen? Well, all of these things were made by my hands, the hands of man. So keep that in mind. Okay? Now, let's talk about pearls and oysters. We all know that pearls come from oysters. Out in the ocean, there's millions of oysters, and when they open up, sometimes a grain of sand gets inside that oyster. And when it does, it irritates the oyster. And so the oyster secretes this material called nacre. It's also called mother of pearl. And this nacre is layered and layered and layered and layered around this irritating grain of sand so that it becomes a smooth and polished surface. So it doesn't irritate the oyster anymore. You open that up and there it is, and that is a pearl. Now, out in the ocean, we know that only about 1 in every 10,000 oysters will produce a pearl. And of those, a very small percentage is of the color, the size, the shape, and the quality that's of interest to the jewelry industry. Now, you can take that same oyster and you can put them into what we call an oyster farm. This is shelves that are under the seawater, and there's oysters in a row, and a man will come along and he'll take an oyster and he'll open it and he'll put in a grain of sand. He'll close it and put it back on the shelf, and he knows that if he comes back after a certain period of time and opens that oyster again, there'll be a pearl in there. In fact, when he first opens it, he can put in several grains of sand or whatever he's using to irritate it, and after a certain period of time, he'll open it up, and there could be multiples. There could be several pearls in there, just as you see here in this picture. Look at these. There's like 30 pearls in this one oyster. These are called cultured pearls. So what does it mean to be cultured? It means that it is caused to happen by circumstances, by the hand of man. Okay, so again, let's remember, this is all by the hand of man. We make these things happen. The world, my friends, is a funny and challenging place. Funny in part because there's so many different entities and individuals that will tell you that they are correct, that only they know the truth, that only they have the knowledge, and that only they know how we should live. And if we don't live that way, there's oftentimes a price to pay. How is it that there can be so many different and oftentimes opposing belief systems regarding what is true or correct, what's the right way to live, to even know the difference between right and wrong, or how to please God? So let's go back to the original question again. How is it that we become the people that we are? Let's take a look at society, institutions, and culture. So what is a society? In its basic form, a society is simply a group of people that think the same way. So this original group of people say, okay, we're going to stop at stop signs, we're going to pay taxes, we're going to have this kind of God and religion over here, we're going to have this kind of government over there, etc., etc., etc. These originators, can influence the people around them to bring in more people who will believe and behave the same way, and this is what you call a society. Society creates a group think. Now these originators are going to die down the road, and yet they want their ideals to live on. So they take their ideals and they put them into these things that we call institutions. Institutions are things like schools and churches and banks and your government. These are social institutions, and we shouldn't ever forget about the family, which plays a very important role. So, we have a society. We have society putting their ideas into these institutions, and these institutions create what is called culture. So, 100 years down the road, after the originators are all gone, a baby is born. Baby is born into a family, and this family lives in this society with all these institutions. The society and the institutions create a culture. And just like the cultured pearl, baby is caused to become a certain kind of person inside a certain belief system, and we call these, us, cultured people. Okay? And again, let's not discount the importance of the family in this whole scenario. The family interaction can have a tremendous influence on personal development of baby. And the family environment, whether it be loving and forgiving or hating and vengeful, remember that the apple does not fall too far from the tree. The bottom line is that we are all just like baby. We're all just clay. And you can make anything out of us. Okay, since you should now have a basic understanding of how we become the cultured people that we become, I'd like to ask another question. And that is, what makes a culture strong? Well, just like in this country, it's the people. The people must have a firm belief in, and they must adhere to, the existing standards, mores, and ethos of the culture. Now, we all understand what standards are, but what are mores and what are ethos? Well, mores are the customs and the conventions of a community. In other words, it's what you do and how you do it. We have certain ways that we do things. Ethos, on the other hand, is the spirit of a culture or community as manifested in their beliefs and aspirations. So in other words, in simple words, it's how we feel as a nation. Are we the nation under God? Are we the strongest nation on earth? Are we moving forward? Are we happy with our government? Okay, so let's ask again. What is the number one cause for the failure of a culture? Well, anthropologists, historians, and sociologists have a whole list of reasons, but there are 4 out of that list that I think are applicable to our culture today in America. The first one is the rising social complexity, obvious. A decay of social cohesion, again, pretty obvious. A growing inequality. Again, I mean, everybody sees that. And then there is the 4th one, which is called extractive institutions. What that means is an extractive institution is one that takes resources from you and gives you back less than you put in. Kind of like my my energy provider out here in California. You should see my bill. It doesn't just say how much my electricity and gas is. I get charged for all kinds of funny stuff. Origination, distribution, cleanup, all of this sort of thing. So, we ask the question, is our culture or our nation in decline? Well, if you ask this old man, the answer is most certainly yes. Is our nation going to come to an end? Well, I certainly pray that it does not. So, now you should have a fairly good understanding of how we become the cultured people that we are. And please don't forget or underestimate the importance and influence of the family experience. Bad adults almost always have had bad things happen to them in their early childhood that affected their development. So, now you have the ability to take a look at yourself and perhaps figure out or understand and, if needs be, adjust some of your own basic behaviors. And hopefully you can do that for the better. Well, that's all for this video. Look for this old man's next video, number 3, entitled God and Religion. Lots here that the church will never tell you. I believe that it's fairly eye-opening. Thanks for watching. Be good. Always set an example for others to follow. I love you. I am the old man.